Hey everybody, happy tutorial Thursday. Yes, it's 12:34 p.m. on a Tuesday and I'm just now starting the tutorial. If anybody's surprised, raise your hand. But seriously, today was especially interesting because, of course, since we're doing our major minor reorganization of the store, I have no sound, do I? Do I have sound? Yes, no? Unclear. Oh, Lori, you're mean. You just, okay, good. Lori just brought in smoked salmon from the smoker, and they're gonna make lemon dill sauce, and I'm super jelly. So anyway, so welcome to this tutorial, leather message cuff. Now I'm gone again? She is mean, I know, Talifet. Okay, so I'm good for Talifet. I think I'm gonna come back for Lori. I think I just had a momentary audio hiccup. But hi, peoples. I know, talking about smoked meats, not nice. Very not nice. So yeah, so since we're in the, yay, hi Sharon. So yeah, since we're in the middle of this major minor reorganization of the store, I literally forgot where I put all of my leather crafting stuff. It had, not Heather, Carol, who's of course the most amazing, led me to it, but it took me a minute. So we're gonna see if I have everything I need to create this bracelet for you. So what do you need to make this particular project? Everything is fine. Well, Lori, that might be an understatement, or an overstatement. I think that might be an overstatement, but at least as far as the stream audio, everything is fine. And at this particular moment, that's all that matters. The rest of the day, we're not even going to deal with that until, 30 minutes from now. So, what do you need to create this cuff? You're going to need a piece of leather. As a jewelry crafter, oh hey look, I have no lights on at all on my hand cam. As a jewelry crafter, one of the things that's been really incredibly helpful to me, first of all, focusing my camera, but creating relationships with people who deal in like leather upholstery, because what this actually is, as you can probably tell from the shape of it, and the fact that it has a color label on the back, this is an upholstery leather sample, and it's a color that was discontinued. And so literally, if you get lucky, you can find people who do custom leather upholstery, either shops or individual people who are literally just like giving this stuff away for free. They're like, this doesn't, like, I have no use for this. This is not a product that I can sell anymore, and I have these samples and I just want to get rid of them. So there's a couple of high-end upholstery shops in Dallas that I really love. Also, there are people on the internet who will just sell lots of leather upholstery samples. Now, of course, your samples are going to be a finite size, which is what makes them good for jewelry crafters. So this particular sample is a, kind of a truncated triangle, and it is, okay, it's 11 inches long from end to end, but it's got this giant hole in it that was meant for hanging it on a ring of samples, and unfortunately that hole's too big really for me to do much with. So what I have here is an operable length of about 10 inches of leather, at about a 1.5 to 2 inch width. And so when you're figuring out with leather how much do you need to go around your wrist, what I'll usually do is I'll take a comfortable wrist measurement, which for me is 6.5 inches. I'll add about a 1/2 inch to that for wearing ease. So for me that's 7 inches. That's typically the size bracelet that I wear. I find when I'm making leather cuffs, people don't like them to be really bangly, so a fairly snug fit is good. Also, something that is going to happen with the leather is it is going to stretch. It's going to relax out a bit as you wear it. So if I'm wearing a 7-inch bracelet, I'm going to have about a 1-inch overlap for the snap. That means I need an 8-inch piece of leather. Now, I have a real problem with accidentally cutting too little leather. Fair. So yeah, so Lori's saying, I mean, exactly what I was just saying is, yeah, when you work at a, you know, when you have a relationship of any kind, hers was an employment relationship, but you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and yeah, sometimes they'll just give them away. A lot of the businesses have realized that this is, you know, a way to acquire a nominal amount of revenue, and so they'll sell them, but you're still, because here's the thing, as a crafter, is I don't want a side of leather, even a half side, even quarter side. That's gonna make me cuff bracelets for the next 40 years. You know, I don't want to go deep, I want to go wide. So I need lots of little pieces that are different colors, different weights, different textures, as opposed to one giant piece that's all the same. Tandy Leather used to sell really good scrap bags as well. I don't know if they're still doing that because unfortunately the physical Tandy location close to me closed. So if I want to go to a physical Tandy location, I actually have to drive all the way to Fort Worth, which is only 45 minutes to an hour, but still. And once again, you can also find people on the internet who are dealing in scrap leather. So I was on my tools and supplies rant. So you're gonna need some leather, enough to make a bracelet. So whatever width you want times whatever circumference your wrist is, plus 1.5 inches more if you like your bracelets bigger. You're gonna need some sheet metal. Luckily I have some sheet bronze left over from last night's tutorial. You're going to need a fastener. Okay, and this is the other place where I got held up because I know I have some rhinestone snaps and I can't find them. I really want to put them on this bracelet. So I'm a huge fan of snaps as fasteners. Alright, I found star ones, but I just saw the rhinestone ones the other day. I kid you not. So as far as fasteners go in leather, you know, you've got a variety of different ways to do this. You can do snaps, you can do buckles, you can do like a button and a loop closure. I'm a huge fan of snaps myself, just because they're super easy to operate and they're pretty easy to install, and they come with sparkles if you can only find your sparkly snaps. I think I'm about to have to give up on my sparkly snaps because they're definitely not in here. Lots of other tools in here that I forgot I had, but my sparkly snaps are not in here. There's one more box, but I don't think they're in here either because I looked in here earlier. So alas, we may wind up with non-sparkly snaps. It looks like we are going to, because I cannot find my sparkly snaps. Of course, you know I'm gonna find them 5 seconds after the stream. But okay, so I'm just gonna grab some regular snaps out. So you're gonna need some kind of fastener. So when you're using snaps, if you're buying them in bulk, usually what you'll get is you'll get a big ass bag that has 4, I know, right? And my sparkle snaps are Tandy too. I just don't know where they are. Erg. But anyway, so usually when you're getting snaps, you're gonna get one big bag that's got 4 little bags in it. So each snap that, oh, hey look, there's one sparkle one in there. Now I have to see if I have the other parts that go with it. So this is actually a really good illustration of like what goes with a snap. So every snap is gonna have 4. I have 2 sparkle snaps. Okay, so every snap is going to have 4 parts, and your parts need to be the same size. And this is where the fact that I just found 2 sparkly snaps is great, but do I have all the other parts that go with them? I think I do, because because I think these are line 24s. Okay, so I think that works. So every snap that you get is going to have 4 parts. So you're going to have, and the easy way to remember what goes with what is flat goes with flat and rounded goes with rounded. So you're going to have a post, just a straight post with a flat back, and that post is going to mate with the male side of the snap. And then you're going to have, sorry, I thought I heard rain. Then you're going to have a button. So your typical snap button that most of us are used to seeing is going to look something like this, with or without, you know, decorative star. But in my case, my snap button has a crystal on it, and that's going to have a tube on the back, and then the button marries with the female part of the snap. So every time that you're setting a snap, you should have 4 distinct parts of the snap. If you do not have 4 distinct parts, you're missing a piece and it's not going to work. And then I also am going to need something to attach my metal piece to my actual piece of leather, and so I'm going to use a rivet for that. So you can use actually like a bookmaking rivet, which I think is what I'm going to do. I just need to go grab one. So you just need a small rivet. So like a 1/8, sorry, yeah, a 1/8 or a 1/16 rivet is going to work great. So these are all 1/8 rivets in varying sizes. These are what's called eyelet rivets, or technically just eyelets, meaning they are a tube. They've got one finished side, and then the other side is unfinished. Come on, camera. Nope, nope, there we go. The other side's unfinished. That's how we're going to attach everything together. Alright, as far as supplies go, we are going to need something to mark on our leather. A scribe or a marker is going to work great. You're going to need a metal shears or really sharp scissors. I find that metal shears work well for cutting actually both the metal and the leather, so I'll tend to just keep those in my workspace because one tool is easier than 2. But if you have a shears you like for leather, that's totally fine. You're going to need a snap setter that's the appropriate size for your snaps. So these crystal snaps are line 24, which means they're extra fat, so you need an extra fat setter. If you go to your local tandy, they will be happy to tell you what size you need to go with your snaps. You're going to need letter stamps to stamp whatever your message is. You are going to also need, I'm real glad Heather wasn't sitting there. You're going to need a household hammer, or in this case, my brass dead blow hammer. I just threw a rubber mallet.
Do you need it?
No, I do not, thank you. You're going to need a chasing hammer. That's going to be both for setting your eyelets and for finishing the edges of your metal. You're going to need a bench block, or bench block equivalent. And skip that. You're also going to need a hole punch for your leather and a hole punch for your metal. There are a couple of different kinds of hole punches for leather. This one, this flavor is most common. This one is actually my fave, and I don't even remember, I have no idea where I got this from, but I absolutely love it. So instead of having this like kind of tubular punch, which will, and you can see it right there, it'll literally excise a circle of your leather. This one just has a pokey thing in it, but it hits into a little die, and I find that this makes just the most beautiful little holes in leather, and it's super easy to use. So really it's just about whatever leather punch works for you. And I think that's it. Once again, as usual, I'll tell you what I've forgotten when I remember that I forgot it. So I'm going to start by cutting with band. For my leather, I'm going to take my leather, and this is one of my favorite tricks, is to just take a metal ruler, that's the width of the cuff that you want to make, set it on your leather, hold it down, and then just trace one side and then trace the other side. And what that leaves you with is two beautiful parallel lines in your leather that are the width that you want to make. In this case, I want a 1-inch cuff, so I was lucky enough to have a 1-inch ruler. Wham bam, super easy. If you don't have a ruler that's exactly the width that you want, graphing rulers, which I've managed to miss, oh no, there we go. Graphing rulers, these are absolutely the best because they're transparent. So you can take your ruler and you can draw a line in your leather and then say I want this to be 1 inch, which is this line here. So all then I do is I line that transparent line up with the line I already drew, scribe across it. So highly recommend one of these. My only problem with these is the ones you get at the craft store and art supply store are really long, and this is what happens to them when they live in my world, which is fine because I don't need more than 9 inches of a graphing ruler, but I think online you can order more petite ones, which are also super helpful. So now I'm going to go ahead and use my metal shears. I'm just going to cut on both of these lines. Once again, if you have a shears that you like for leather, feel free to use it. Now you may have noticed I did include my little hole in there. I'm going to want it cutting that off, but it's just easier to draw to the end of the leather. So when you're cutting leather, you want a very sharp shears. You want to get a really clean cut. The duller your shears are, the more kind of fuzzy and weird your cut's going to be. Now, if you are a leather crafter who knows the tools of the trade, you can actually finish this edge with either xanthan gum or gum tragacanth, as they call it here in the US. You can finish it with edge coat, you can dye it. So there are lots of ways you can finish the edge of this cuff. For the sake of time and the fact that this is called, or it's not, but this is a simple leather cuff, we're going to skip the edge finishing. But the internet can show you lots of good ways to finish the edge if you don't like this kind of slightly fuzzy organic look that it has. The other thing when you're cutting your leather, same as when you're cutting your metal, don't go snip, snip, snip with your scissors. Try and have a continuous cut and only snip at the end, because when I was distracted a second ago and I did a snip, see how it's not straight. There's a little jog in that cut. So try and just cut continuously without ending your scissors. And that's a thing in metal. It's a thing in fiber arts as well. When you're sewing, you don't want to snip your scissors to the end until you're actually at the end. So like I said, if I want a 7-inch cuff, I need an 8-inch piece of leather because I need an inch for that overlap. So I need obviously a square end here. So I can eyeball that, or I could use an actual square. I'm going to go ahead and eyeball it because that's how I roll. So I've squared off my end there, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut myself my 8 inches, which ends right there. I can, if I want to, take my scribe, just make myself a mark there. Again, I could use a square if I wanted to, or I can just eyeball it. So this is my base piece of leather for my cuff, and I might as well go ahead and just set my snaps in there, and then we're going to go ahead and make our metal piece. So to set your snaps, in addition to those hammers, okay, So to set your snaps, you're gonna need, you're gonna need your snap setter, but something that's incredibly helpful, something that's not in here, is this. This is a snap setting awl. Tandy doesn't sell this with their snaps. You have to buy a separate kit to get this, but one of the main problems with when you're setting snaps, for me, and I realize that I may not be representative of the population in this, but they tend to slide, especially on the rounded side. Also, I should not have thrown away that scrap of leather, and I'll tell you why in a second. So what this little widget does is it'll actually allow you to nestle your snap in this little depression, and it's going to keep it from sliding. It's going to make your setting a lot easier. So again, flat with flat, round with round. And so the way that it works is this is the top of my cuff, and so if you think about it, it's going to come around and it's going to snap like this. So what I need is I need the fancy side, decorative side of the snap to be on this side with the female side underneath, and then I need the male side to be also on the front side of the leather with its post underneath. So I always find it easier to mark my male side first because it sits nice and flat. So I'm just going to take that, I'm going to set it on my leather, and I can take either a marker or my scribe and just mark myself where I'm going to punch that hole. So that's going to be right there. So I can use either one of my leather punches, since this is a line 24 snap and it's got a pretty big post there. I'm going to go ahead and use this. So this is just a rotating punch, so you just got different sizes, and the wheel only rotates one direction, helpfully indicated by an arrow. So I'm just going to take my punch, line it up over my mark, and then I'm going to squeeze it as hard as I can until I hear it snap. There you go. That means that you've cut through. Sometimes you still have a little piece of leather that you need to poke out, but you've actually created a hole in your leather. Now I'm going to take my post and I'm going to stick it through that hole, like so. I'm going to grab my male side, I'm going to drop it on top of my post. I'm going to use the flat side of my stamp setting anvil. I'm going to make sure once again that I have the right size of setter for my snap. I'm going to put that on top of there, and then I'm going to pound it till it's set. So it's going to get loud for a second. I'm also going to move it a little bit off camera, otherwise I'm going to whack my camera. So a few good blows and this should be set. Alright, literally wham bam, and there we go. That's a set snap. Now, I'm going to do the same on the other side. Apparently my computer decided I was giving it some kind of command during that pounding. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and mark the female side of my snap. If you're marking on the suede side of your leather rather than the top grain side, a marker is a better choice than a scribe or an awl. So we're just going to mark that. And once again, punch us a hole, listen for the snap, poke out your piece of leather if you need to. And now we're going to flip this over to the side of our anvil that has the divots. And this one, I'm going to put it in this one here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take this sparkly bit and I'm going to put it through from the top grain side or the front of my leather to the back. Like so. Then I'm going to take the female side of my snap, I'm going to drop that over that post, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of scrap leather and I'm going to set it on top of that anvil, and that's going to be so that I don't crack my crystal when I'm setting it. Just want to make sure everything's in the right spots. Take your setter, drop it in your post, press down nice and hard, grab your household hammer, and when I'm dealing with the crystal snap, I usually think of heavy taps instead of pounds. But either way, wham bam. So what you're looking for is you're looking for this nice kind of rolled over bit in the center, and ideally what you should be able to do is snap and unsnap. Oh, that was a fail. Did y'all see that? That was a colossal fail. No, it's not early, Sophia. Are you traveling? It's 1 o'clock. I'm actually late. I started at 12:30. But look at my fail. Everybody go, like, look at my embarrassment. Okay, I didn't set this. Lori's sitting there right now and she is laughing her ever-loving ass off at what just happened to me live on the internet, which is I didn't set this well enough, and so when I, you're in Greece? Really? Oh my god, that's so amazing! It's Thursday. Yes, so it's my early stream on Thursday. So it's 1 p.m. here in Dallas. It's also 1 p.m. in Wisconsin. I'll be back again at 6 p.m. tonight with Torch Thursday. So yes, the joys of international travel, of not only knowing what time it is wherever you're thinking of, but also not knowing what day it is. So anyway, all right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab my pliers and I'm going to, the crystal actually stayed, which is nice. It's the male part of the snap that didn't. So I'm gonna attempt to extricate the male part of the snap from the female part of the snap. I feel like there was an episode of ER about this. Or maybe it was Grey's Anatomy. I think it was ER. Anyway, and I don't think I can reset that because that's just completely squashed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my snaps and I'm going to see if I have another line 24 set that I can just, oh my gosh, that's amazing, Sophia. Yes, we shall talk about this. Alright, that's still the same size snap set, so that should still work. Thank you, Tallyfet, for going with me on that. I'm so glad I'm not the only one who remembers that episode of Grey's Anatomy. Okay, so these, unfortunately, these are both toast, which snaps aren't that expensive, so it's kind of like saw blades. It's one of those things that you're just like, you eventually get used to it. But the hilarious thing here is that this is the hard side. Like, this is the side that's difficult. And this one just came out beautifully. I screwed up the easy part. So good job me. So we're going to try and do this again. So the post goes on, and the male side goes on, and then the setter drops in the hole, and then we bash the crap out of it. Yes, there was some rage there, in case anybody was wondering. So now we're going to test this again. So ideally we should snap, and we should unsnap. If you come apart again, I swear to God, nope. Okay, so ideally you should be able to snap and unsnap, and if you're, especially if you're selling this piece, like, try it multiple times, but you should be able to snap it and unsnap it with all of the pieces staying in their relative positions on your bracelet. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this bracelet aside real quick, and I'm going to make my stamped piece. So for that, I'm actually going to use a proper bench block and not just my little stamping Stamping anvil, but you could use that if you needed to. Okay. Oh, good, Sophia. Have so much fun. All right.
Where's she going? What'd she do?
She's in Greece.
Oh.
And she's watching her stream from Greece. That was singing on the stream. If anybody has a cocktail, it's 9 p.m., Sophia. Though you are in the car, so, you know, but that's a drink. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping. And since I have a sparkly snap, I'm just going to... so does that mean you can drink, you can't drink, or you're drinking a lot in secret? Just curious. Because family is the thing. Okay, so you've got two avenues of approach for this. You can stamp and then cut, or you can cut and then stamp. I like to stamp and then cut because sometimes my stamping gets wonky and then I can kind of encompass it all in the thing. So I'm just gonna very simply stamp the word sparkle. And since I'm just stamping on my metal, I don't have to do any real planning. I can just start from the beginning and go to the end. So remember, when you're stamping, printed side of the stamp towards you, hold it evenly on the metal and hit it really nice and hard. So there we go. We have an S. Like Sophia, but not. You could use bigger letters, you can use smaller letters. This is my favorite size of letter, so that's what I'm using. Which is 3/16, I believe. 3/32, 2.4 millimeters. I love this set of letters. I got it from Rio Grande literally almost 20 years ago, and it's still in pristine condition despite being used by students and children. I love it. It was a really expensive letter set for me at the time. It cost me $70. Now I'm like, psh, that's nothing. But at the time I was like, oh my god, I'm spending $70 on a tool. But if you amortize that over 15 years, like, that's some serious value for your money. So investing in good tools is worth it. However, not every tool needs to be a good tool because some things we don't use as much. Alright, so there we go. There's my word, sparkle. Now we're going to go ahead and draw my cut lines. This is again where my graphing ruler is going to come in handy. I'm serious. This is like a $10 tool that I could not live without. Because once again, I can decide where I'm going to put my lines, but I can still see my word. Don't forget when you're doing your ends. Oh, I just did sparkles, Sophia, because I started late, so I needed something simple. And also I made a sparkly snap on my cuff, so it seems appropriate. When you're doing your edges, your ends, okay, first of all, you can get a perpendicular line, again, very easily with your graphing ruler by lining that up. And don't forget, you need to leave room for your attachment, for your rivet, okay? I just did one for a client, which is why this is actually a class this week, because I had to do one and I screwed it up. I made the bracelet too short, and so on Carol's wonderful suggestion, I decided to make it a class, but I actually didn't leave enough space for his rivets, so his cuff says strong, vigorous, and healthy, but the S is a little occluded by the rivet. Thankfully, he didn't care, but it's a good lesson in that when you're planning all this, you need to plan for your attachments. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out with my metal shears. Also, y'all, by the way, we are open here at the Beading Dreams since I am a little late today, and we have no wall behind me. If customers come in, it might get a little chattery in the background. We're going to do our best to keep it low, and I am going to be finished with this project pretty soon, but just apologies in advance if that should happen. For anybody who is curious as to what the heck is going on behind me, if you weren't on stream last night, so first of all, this is the actual Beading Dreams. It's not a green screen. Hey, one of the Carols, can you come and just come here to prove it's not a green screen? Look, see, it's an actual Carol. She's a real person. She's waving. So, thank you. Yeah. Everyone last night was like, it looks like you're in front of a green screen.
Oh,
I'm like, but no, it's actually my store. So yeah, this is actually the Beading Dreams. Behind me, there's a Carol May, and then Tallyfet was like zooming in, and she was like, I want that and that and that. So yeah, so actual live people here at the Beading Dreams. We're doing a major, what I'm calling a major minor furniture rearrange. So there will be a backdrop.
It's a major.
And a wall behind me again next week. But for the rest of this week, you just get to look out upon the chaos of the Beading Dreams. Okay, well, which strand? Tallyfet, you're gonna have to screenshot it because there's a lot of strands behind me. So.
Maybe she likes this one.
But anyway, okay, so I cut this, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish the edges with my chasing hammer. So that means I'm just going to take, I know, Tallyfet, but if, maybe, I will, Lori, you're mean. You're so mean. I mean, I had, okay, and I'm one of those people who doesn't really have defined time slots for particular types of food items. So I actually had homemade from scratch hamburgers and home fries for breakfast, which were still not quite as good, I think, as freshly smoked salmon and dill sauce, but they were not terrible. So I'm going to take the round side of my chasing hammer, and I'm just going to go around the edge of my plate. Since it's going to be down on a leather cuff, it's not quite as important as if it were going to be in direct contact with your skin, but it's still nice to have a good smooth finish. So I'm just taking my round side of my chasing hammer and creating a beveled edge on that metal. Oh, I was organizing at home, not here, and I moved something and I found a jar this big of bread and butter pickled chips that was behind a bottle or a jar of protein powder, which explains why I had no idea the pickles were there, because protein powder is one of those things that really seems good in concept and is just terrible in execution. But I found pickles, and that was exciting. Continuing my finishing. Okay, so actually I'm gonna take there's not a whole lot of you out there, but I'm gonna take a pickle vote while I'm pounding. Okay. So favorite kind of pickle. Specifically, I'm looking for feedback on bread and butter, yay or nay, or only in a particular application, but I'm just going to broaden it to what's your favorite kind of pickle. And it's a before 9 o'clock stream, so please keep it rated G. Gonna continue pounding now. Ah! No! Lori, you're the worst. Okay, Tallyfet says spicy dill for her favorite kind of pickle. Who else has a way in? If Heather were here, I'm pretty sure her answer would be any kind of pickle. And okay, so I've hammered the whole thing. Now I'm just going to take some steel wool and I'm just going to use it to go over my edges just because that's going to make them really nice. Alright, there we go. So that's my little message. And then I'm going to do a couple more things with my message. First of all, I'm going to grab my metal punch and I'm going to punch a hole at each of the spots I marked. Okay, so Lori says bread and butter, good for sandwiches, and garlic dill pickles for munching, which is actually funny because I'm the opposite. I like bread and butter for munching and dills for sandwiches. And Sharon says nay on bread and butter. She likes the dills. Dills on chicken sandwiches is a big thing here in the South. And then dill pickles is a side to barbecue, which I'm definitely down with. Also the, cornichon, the little French gherkins. I will say, okay, there's the one type of pickle I literally cannot get on board with is the sweet gherkins. That is just not my jam, and which is different than bread and butter. Like there's just something about, there's like a cinnamon component to the flavor or something with the sweet gherkins that I'm just like, not my jam, can't do it. Okay, so I punched 2 holes, one at each of my marks. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to darken up my letters with my marker. You don't have to be super neat with that because you're about to go clean it up with rubbing alcohol. You just want to make sure you get those letters good and colored in. And then you're going to go find some rubbing alcohol. Oh, hey, Diane. Oh, hey, Allison. Sorry, I didn't have alcohol. I need to find some. I'm almost done. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and rub that off. That's going to do the dual purpose of taking off all of my markings from when I cut this and darken up my letters so that they're easier to see. Ooh, you know what else is really good on a taco, Sharon? And I know this because of Blue Mesa. I went to an event where the chef for Blue Mesa was doing a thing. So pulled pork tacos with French fried onions. Life-changing. Not even kidding. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is we need to attach this to our bracelet. Now, you may have noticed that this is flat and your wrist is not. This is the one place where a round bench block is really handy because you can just kind of bend it on the end of that. If you don't have a round bench block, a bracelet mandrel is going to help you just get a curve, a nice little curve on this, and you can use your chain nose pliers to help with the ends. So you just get a curve that sits nicely on your wrist. Like so. It really is, Sharon. You should try it because it is the best. Which is not surprising because they don't eat a lot at Blue Mesa because it's expensive, but yeah, I mean, they do know what the heck they're doing. Okay, so I dumped over all of my eyelet rivets because I'm awesome like that. So while I'm cleaning these up, I'm going to grab 2 and attempt to get the rest to go back in their container. Okay, we got like 80% in the container and like 30% on the floor. So now, this is the other minorly tricky thing when you're doing a cuff like this is you got to put it in the middle, accounting for your overlap. So I often find the easiest way to do that is literally to fold the thing in half and then make a dot at the middle with a marker is going to be better for this. Because that's going to be covered up anyway by my plate. Okay, now I can unsnap my cuff. Maybe? Thank you. Alright, so luckily for me, this is a it's not a 5-letter word. It's a 7-letter word. So the R is going to be my center. So I can just go ahead and eyeball that and line that up over my center dot, and then I'm going to center it on the width of my cuff, and then I'm going to make a dot for each of these holes. Make sure that it's even. Okay, so there are 2 dots, and I'm going to use my favoritist hole punch to make a couple of smaller holes in my leather right on my dot. So just line it up, squeeze it, and there you go. It gives you a really nice, clean, easy hole. It's a great tool. And then the only thing that you need to know, the only thing that's really significant when you're using these eyelets, is you want to put the finish side on the back of the leather, because since the leather stretches, you need a slightly bigger base on the back. So you're just going to put that on, drop your plate over front of it, and then grab your chasing hammer, use the round side, pound that flat. There you go, and then we're going to do the same for the other one. So the rivet just goes up through. Up through like so. Drop the metal over it. Here's another good trick. So if you want to take something pointy, and that can help you maneuver your rivet to get through both of your holes. Okay, like so. So once again, you want the tube of the rivet coming up through the hole. Just set it on the edge of your block. That's how you kind of manipulate around the curve. Tap with the round part. And there you go. And that's your leather message cuff. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me for a little bit longer than usual today, since I started late. But there we go. That's a simple leather cuff with a sparkly snap and a stamped message. You can make this stamped message plate as long as you want. However, you know, do bear in mind that it still needs to go around your wrist. So if you're doing something verbose, multiple lines is a good way to deal with that. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us on the Beading Dream stream this Thursday evening, Tutorial Thursday. We'll be back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream, this evening at 6 p.m. with these earrings with the claw settings for rough cut stones. It's going to be a really fun class. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do mine with some Herkimer diamonds tonight, because I've been wanting some Herkimer diamond earrings. So everyone have a great day, and we'll see y'all back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream tonight at 6. Bye y'all.